Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. You can find me on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. Spelling GaelenTrombley. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. Welcome everybody, episode 188, Galen Trombley Show. Returning guest, always a good podcast with this fella here, Alec Odnoha.
Galen, appreciate you having me. Always a pleasure to be here. It's been a little bit. This is my third now. Yeah, I think it was. I was just talking to them about it out there. It's the first one was like April or May of last year. I feel like maybe even June.
Really?
Yeah, and then after that.
Longer.
It was somewhere in there because I remember I was just starting out at the time with what I was doing, and then I did one with Nick and Rob.
That was your second one, though, Nick and Rob?
I'm pretty sure this is my third.
No, it could be.
It was. Yeah. That's a good. It's honestly a good question. I'm pretty sure this is my third.
So, every time we get together, and again, we're just going to preface this because this could turn into a golf podcast. So if you don't like golf, this is the time you shut it off. If you do like golf, then listen up because we're diving deep. And I don't think we had the Masters preview show.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like it would be cool to do a preview show for every major. I don't know how realistic that will be.
I think that's a great idea.
I'm going to try to shoot for it, but it's like worst case scenario. Like I have some golfers coming on between now and like the next 2 or 3 weeks. So I think I'll get a lot of predictions and a lot of PGA championship talk, even though it's not a PGA
I think getting all
tournament.
that different insight is going to be so cool. I think that'll be neat to like compare and see what other people are thinking.
All the people coming on are way better golfers than me. So then I know they follow golf. So it's kind of like, and you can have a little more, a better conversation with someone that understands golf. But so if you want to start off, we can dive right into golf, or you can update us on anything else. The Carolina hat's pretty dope.
Oh yeah, North Carolina's my team.
So you were jacked this year when they got to the finals.
Oh, I was loving that run so much. Like I don't get me wrong. I will say I've been a North Carolina fan for a long time. I really started to like them when I was really young. I remember in 2005 when they won, and I believe they beat Illinois in the final. I remember like picking them in the bracket.
Yeah, Tyler Hansbrough, the team?
Nah, that was before that time. That was 2005 was like there was like Raymond Felton, Rashad McCants, Sean May.
Yep.
Oh man, who else was on that team?
Hansbrough came right.
Hansbrough was like 09 maybe, I think. But anyway, I've always been a big fan of them. I really came to like him first because Michael Jordan, like at Stearns College, like Michael Jordan's one of my favorite players.
David Noel, yeah, God.
And then Vince Carter and other names as well, but been a big fan of them since. And I remember when they lost to Villanova, like in the championship not too long ago at the buzzer. Marcus Page's 3 will be probably one of the best forgotten shots. Like I'll bet you a lot of people don't remember it, but
that whole sequence of events was so smooth. Like the guy, just like the receiving,
and
just he went right into it.
So right even before that though, like the shot before that, in my opinion, was more impressive. I mean, with what was on the line, Marcus Page jumps up, does like a double pump, almost like halfway down his body almost, and then throws it up, manages to tie it. I remember being in like a college hangout area, and we were all just going crazy when that shot went in. And then that sequence that you're saying is smooth. Chris Jenkins coming down, catching the pass, and sinking the 3. We just went silent. Like, just could hear a pin drop. Just couldn't believe it. But it was definitely one of those like things like gotta love that the team goes that far. Been a North Carolina fan forever. Had a steering wheel cover North Carolina. I've had the driver, like the Tar Heel driver, like mascot. I've had North Carolina like car mats. A lot, you name it.
Is it always basketball? I mean, it's their sport, so like.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Do you carry it on to like football? Not a big deal.
I mean, I will say, this year in the Masters, one of the amateurs, Austin Greaser, runner-up USAM this past year, he golfs for Carolina, so I was loving that.
getting back to the 05 team, they beat Illinois. So I was looking, but the Illinois team. Do you remember that team that year?
Vaguely, like I think Illinois. If I remember correctly, but I think I'm wrong. Honestly, there's like one player on the Illinois team that stands out to me, and I want to say the names along the lines of like D Brown or something.
Yeah, D Brown,
but
and then Darren Williams.
I don't remember Darren Williams.
Darren Williams played in the NBA for many years. So.
I remember Darren Williams in the NBA, but I don't remember him on the Illinois team.
Is he?
No, he's retired. He's out of the league.
Okay. So Bruce Weber was the coach, but so this team was 37-2, and I remember them. And at the time, this was 04-05. So I was big into basketball back then. I was in high school, and the other. So it actually says in 2014, Sports Illustrated.
Did I ever know you were big into basketball? I don't know if I did. I don't know if you ever told me that.
I've liked college basketball. I mean, big in the sense that like I followed it back then. I don't follow it as like the first time I watched college basketball was NCAA tournament.
I follow the NBA far more than college, but I do enjoy NCAA for sure.
So in 2014, Sports Illustrated voted the 2005 Illinois team as the best ever not to win a national championship. And I remember this team because they were number one almost the entire year. I believe number two was St. Joseph's. And St. Joseph's had, oh my gosh.
St. Joe's. This is 0405?
0405.
They had,
if you say his name, I'm going to
get West and
him, and then,
and
just point guard
Nelson.
Jameer Nelson, that was it. Yep.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah.
So both of them were on the team, and when they were, so that year it was those two. They were undefeated majority of the season. And it was kind of like, is somebody going to go undefeated in college basketball this year? Because that's unheard of, realistic. Unless you're like, was it UCLA back in the day? People don't go undefeated in basketball, or at least men's basketball. Obviously, the UConn women were studs, but they
South Carolina too. I don't think they went undefeated this year, but South Carolina was a great team this year. I actually tuned into that quite a bit. It was
women's basketball.
Those women can hoop. They really can.
So I'm a Notre Dame guy. So Notre Dame, a handful of years ago, they won, I believe, in like 2001. I think it's the last time.
Oh man,
they might have.
I couldn't tell you that far. I was 6 years old.
Well, they had. I think it was 2001. They had a really good team. They won, and again, I was into basketball at the time. And
did you play?
Notre Dame guy. I mean, I did. I played for Shea Z, which is
like. Did you play through high school?
Yeah, I played all the way through senior year.
Nice.
I was the leading scorer my senior year.
Were you?
For my team. But
how many points do you average?
I want to say it was like between 12 and 15.
Nice. Yeah. That's solid.
Yeah.
That's real solid.
It was decent. I mean, our team wasn't very good, but...
That's all right.
And then
12, 15 a game, solid.
2007, we won sectionals.
Nice. That's memorable.
Last time Shazy's ever won sectionals.
Really? It's been that long?
I sat the bench the whole game, so I was on the team. So we actually had... So in 07, remember Corey Lewis at all?
Yeah.
Stud. Like, by far...
Yeah, I've played basketball with Corey.
He's still playing basketball.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great player.
Good dude, and played with him, and I
think he's in Germany right now.
Yeah, stud. Like, very good. He's shorter than I am, but he's a really good player. And then we had some other really good guys on the team. I think we had... The thing was, we had some basketball players then, and we had some athletes, and our coach was Rob Guerin. I don't know if you know Rob at all.
Yeah, I know Rob. So I got to know Rob. I used to go to Camp Jericho when I was younger, and he was the camp director there.
So Rob came to Shea Z for 1 year. He got an administrative position. Northeastern wouldn't let him coach as being an administrator, which they quickly, I think, turned that around after the year. So he came up to Shea Z and coached, and we went from not a good team, like middle of the pack. On a good year, we might have gotten like fourth in the league. We ended up finishing the league in second. We won sectionals. We beat the number one seed in the finals. Ended up losing in the regional. I think it was the regional. It wasn't the regional finals. We lost in the regional against Section 10, and the team that
probably like Potsdam or something.
We played Chattagay, who beat us by 1 point that day. We had beat them earlier in the year, first time I think ever that we had beat them. We beat them in the regular season.
One of my buddies. He was a good player for Chattagay.
Yeah, and they were studs. So the year they beat us by 1. They blew the next team out by 20. I think it was 20-something points. The following day, like we would have played that team from Albany. Then they went to the Final Four. They blew the team out in the semifinals by like 20-something points. Then they got blown out in the finals by quite a bit. But I was in my head, I was like,
still made it that far.
We could have gotten to the state championship game in basketball, which is insane. The following year, Chateauguay won the national. They won the state championship. So they were studs, but we had a really good team. It was just
Killers.
It was an anomaly of a year. But,
my buddy Mike. I think his dad was the coach there. I'm pretty sure from what he told me. Mike Boye.
That
he was the
name
guard there.
sounds-
He's nasty. Played in college.
That name sounds
good buddy of
familiar.
mine. Great dude.
There was
Great dude.
if I saw the lineup back then, I would recognize a couple of the names. But they were a very good team. Very well coached. Very disciplined. Very organized. They weren't flashy. They weren't a team. They weren't going to be dropping threes on you. They were very much like run plays, pick and roll, get to the bucket, rebound, like defense. I mean, they were just a very fundamental team.
One thing I've always wondered what it would be like. I mean, coming from this area was like what it would be like to play basketball or like be at a high school basketball game where it's like for example, when Gerard came here, when Joe Gerard came up in the area, there was like crazy attendance in the field house. I wonder what it would be like to go somewhere where that's like regular. And there would be even more than that for just a high school game. I think that would be a crazy atmosphere. I mean, I'm a big fan of mixtapes, and I try to pick out names nowadays even. Like I'll look for talent on like Instagram and YouTube, and I'll come across some names here and there of players that I'm interested in, and I enjoy that. And it's crazy to see some of the talent out there.
So what's the kid's name you just said?
Mike?
No, the Gerard.
Joe Gerard. Joe Gerard.
Is he still on the team?
Syracuse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't follow enough.
I think he's going to be a senior. I'm pretty sure.
I remember when he played because
He's either going to be a senior or a junior, one of the two.
I didn't know who he was when he played, and this is the thing. I just don't follow. They got a terrible website.
I don't think anyone's going to touch his record as far as state points. No way.
So does he have the record for state points?
Oh my God, yeah. He
has more than Jimmer.
Oh my God. So
really?
So Joe Girard,
Buddy Boeheim,
career points is
is Buddy Boeheim and Jimmy Boeheim?
Yeah, the brothers, both Boeheim sons. Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah,
okay,
they're leaving. No, you're good. But
they're leaving.
They're both. Yeah,
senior and graduate.
One's graduating and one's a graduate. Yeah, so they're both finished.
Did they play?
Yeah, they both had one season this year.
But did they actually play?
Oh yeah, they were good. Buddy's one of the better players on Syracuse. They're two of the better players on Syracuse.
Wow, I didn't know that. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. Joe Girard, yeah. So his career points, I believe it hovers around like 4,700. The second place is Lance Stevenson at 2,900. Like he's got such a margin that I don't think it will be touched. I mean, he averaged 50 points a game his junior year. About 47 senior year. Played at Glens Falls.
He's a junior right now, so
that's Syracuse.
Again, I'm very out of touch, but he actually is like a stud for them right now.
I don't know if he'll play in the NBA. Like I think he's absolutely got the pro like shooting touch. He absolutely can do that. He's got great vision. He certainly could play overseas. I think he's kind of like a McNamara. That's what he reminds me of.
So he went to Glens. He went to the same school as Jimmer.
Yeah.
Right? I think Jimmer was Glens Falls.
Glens Falls or South Glens Falls, one of the two. Yeah. I think it is the same spot. I don't know. I know whatever records Jimmer has, if it's the same school, I'm sure Joe Girard beat him.
Wow. That's
Mr.
crazy.
Basketball in New York. Yeah.
That's what he was?
Yeah.
I'm reading his first eighth grader be named to the first game he ever played on varsity as an eighth grader. He scored 31 points.
I'm pretty sure he hit the game winner too.
Wow. I'm not going to read through all this, but this is
I think so. He played here. I remember when he came to play like Plattsburgh. I remember someone saying it was like one of his top 10 worst games, and he still had like 42 points. I think I don't remember. It could be too high, but that number could be, but somewhere around there. It was one of his worst games, and he still put on, and I thought that was cool to see.
So did he?
But PHS did a good job for sure.
Did he break the record in his senior year?
No, he broke in his junior year.
That's wild. Score in the state. Yeah, you're right. Lance Stevenson. I remember that. Brooklyn's Abraham Lincoln. Who else? Sebastian Telfair. Remember that?
Yeah,
name?
I remember.
Because he was supposed to be really good, and something happened to him.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously things happen to kids.
Oh, so another fun state basketball fact: the record for points in a game in the state is 98, and that was held by someone that went to Peru.
Really?
Yes.
Still to this day?
Yes. I think it was I forget what year. It was back in like the 60s or something, maybe 50s. Frank something. I've talked about this with a number of local guys around here, But yeah, and that's another neat little.
So
fun
that's
basketball
points in a
fact.
game.
98.
So
Yeah.
the other thing is this is going by the New York State record book. So this does not include, or New York State Public High School does not include the city. So Joe Girard has 47.63. The next one they have down is 29.14.
That's Lance, right?
No, it's Miles Brown. Played the same years from North Star Christian Academy.
Wait, as Joe Girard?
Yeah, same.
Oh,
record.
then that must be recent. Then he must be second.
But
I
I'm
don't
saying
know.
like on here, he's not even on there. Lance Stevenson, because it's just a New York State
interesting.
record because they're considered. Is it the Peasaw? What's not Peasaw? What's the city has its own league. So when they play the Federation Cup every year, I believe they take the New York State champion, the city champion, like the city of New York City.
Yeah,
has like their own championships.
you're right, but I'm not too familiar with how it works down there, to be honest with you.
So I thought Jimmer was even close. I mean, I use that lightly. Jimmer had 2,404.
He's a
points.
legend in China, though. Absolute god in China.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Lens Falls. So he 47.63.
Yeah, like it's mind blowing. He led the nation in scoring. I'm pretty sure, like for 2 years. Maybe not a senior year, but definitely his junior year.
Most
Like,
points scored in a season.
Dude was averaging 50 points a game.
57 in his senior year.
Yeah.
He almost broke 2,000. Like, what is it? No, 1,000 points is like a major milestone
Yeah.
for people.
Yeah.
He had 14.57 in his senior
I mean,
year.
this dude's putting up like
He was doing
huge
1,000 a
numbers.
year.
He had like a 69-point game. I'm pretty sure he averaged like 40, 50 on the regular.
Most points scored in a game. Chuck Kinney
Chuck Kinney
of
There
Peru.
you go.
98,
Yeah.
1954-55.
There you go.
The closest one to him was 80 in 88,
I think
89.
man, I
Joe
think it
Girard-
was Randy. Do you know Randy Senecal? I think
No.
he's the one. He's a hoop around here. Like great guy. Like Randy a lot. Knows a lot about the local history sports here. Great athlete himself. He told me about that. I believe. I think it was him that was done. Like the 98-point game. Told me a little bit about it. I forget exactly what it was that he said, but
How
think,
wild's that?
Oh, I couldn't even imagine that. I mean, Wilt scored 100, but I mean, Wilt did that in the NBA. I don't think that'll happen again. Kobe scored 81.
81. So Joe Girard in his senior year had 69 points.
Yeah.
I mean, that's impressive. Most three. I mean, he like leads statistically in almost every
I
category.
mean, yeah, he looked when he came here, you could tell, you know, he
He
was a good player.
Check this stat out. Most three-pointers in a career. Second most three-point field goals in a career. 343.
Oh, he's got to be over 1,000.
No, 343. If you double that number, it turns into 686. Joe Girard had 688. So the
Dang.
second place guy, if you
Double
doubled
plus
his
two.
career, he was still higher than that. That is wild. 195 in one
Wow.
year. Look at this stat. Sorry, I'll get off this. This is all new to me. This 2015, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19. Joe Girard has the four most three-pointers in a season, owns the record. It is his freshman year is fourth, his sophomore year is third, his junior year is second, senior year is first on the all-time record
Yeah, that's
in a year. So this kid just like could shoot the rock.
Oh yeah, like lights out. Absolute lights out. And he's a great player for Syracuse. For sure. I think he's cracked 1,000 at Syracuse.
This is wild. Okay, we're getting off of this. So,
You could go down this rabbit hole for sure.
well, I mean, when you start, so actually, the cool thing. Let me see. So again, I'm getting off of basketball because I have no ties. I mean, I played actually.
I love basketball.
Well, the one I wanted to go to was soccer because we did a lot of soccer, and when you start going into the records, let me see if we can find any good. How do you find?
I don't know much about soccer. I'll tell you that.
Did you play soccer?
Did I? No, I was never a big fan of soccer. I mean, I give soccer players all the credit in the world. I think got to be crazy endurance to be able to do it. I mean, and I think it takes a lot of talent and a lot of skill. I was never very good at it. Just never a big fan myself. But I definitely enjoyed watching it, and I'd like to go to a professional like a soccer game. I think that'd be cool. I've heard crazy things about it, so I definitely would like to do that. It's on the bucket list.
Yeah,
at some
so
point.
I've been to my only professional games. The biggest one I went to was the Women's World Cup. So when you were talking,
that's neat.
So when you were in 2015, so we ended up seeing the United States. No, lied. The first game we saw was Canada, who was hosting. So we saw them in Montreal. So Canada
I was just about to ask, like, okay, where'd you?
It was Montreal. So Canada played.
This?
I want to say it was the Netherlands, and we went up and watched that game, and that was cool because we watched the host nation play. And then, because again, they rotate around. So they only play like Montreal once, and then they'll go to like Vancouver, and then they'll play in Toronto. So they go around the whole country. So the semifinals of the whole tournament was in Montreal, and we got lucky because the United States was in the semifinals, and there was 2 locations. I think it was Vancouver and Montreal. So they could have been playing in Vancouver. They played in Montreal, and we had bought tickets for the semifinal game months in advance. So me and my wife went up and we watched the United States play, God, I think it was Germany at the time. And it was kind of cool. It came down, Alex Morgan got tripped, like on our end, like where we were the goal. And then Carly Lloyd kicked the penalty kick, scored, and they won 1-0. And then they ended up going to the finals. And like Carly Lloyd, I think, scored 4 goals in like 10 minutes. Like, no joke. And they won 5-1, I think it was. But when you're just talking about going out and seeing like a crowd of people, I've
heard the atmosphere. I mean, I can even imagine at the Women's World Cup. I've heard an atmosphere is electric, absolutely electric.
It's wild. So when we literally just watched this in the past week. So my wife's had to watch this for an assignment, and it was the Women's World Cup. But it was all the players coming back. Not all of them, but there was like maybe a handful of them that came back from that team. So you had like Julie Foudy, you had Mia Hamm. What's her name? Michelle Akers, Brianna Scurry, like all these really good players. Brandi Chastain, the one who took the shirt off on the PK, like they came back and talked about the '99 World Cup team. And what was funny was that was back when women's sport really wasn't that big, and they're like, "Are we even going to sell out these places?" The United States was hosting, and they played at the Rose Bowl in the finals, and they were just talking about how many people were in the stadium. So we talk about like going out, and it was kind of cool. Like some of the camera views they showed, I'm like, I couldn't even imagine just
playing.
What
was the tally? Do you remember?
Oh, I mean, I can.
Because you know what? Have you ever looked at the attendance stats for the waste management?
Insane. I mean, that has just gotten out of control at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just like it's insane how many people go to that.
That is another bucket list item as well.
I saw this on the. I saw this. That's total attendance. I'm like 1 million people. No, so it was the attendance in the finals. I heard that. I don't know. Was it Foreplay that said this? I didn't actually watch and hear their answers, but they said, would you rather make a hole-in-one in 16 at the Masters during the Masters or the 16 at the Waste Management hole-in-one?
Ooh.
What would be your pick? I know mine. 90,000 people were at the finals in the World Cup.
If it were at the Masters or the Waste Management.
So you're
16 at the Masters, or I would say
this is in a tournament. And I have
in a tournament,
like this is a tournament round. You get a hole-in-one. I will pick.
Damn, that's actually tough.
I have 2 answers.
It's actually tough. But if I had to give you an answer, I would say probably at Waste Management, and I'll tell you why. I think that just that hole in itself is so unique and is so known for that one thing. Whereas at 16 at Augusta's known for so much more than just that. And I'm not taking anything away from Scottsdale, but like that is like a flagship item there. Whereas like at Augusta, you could have really anything. I mean, you could have Butler Cabin, not even the course itself. You could have, Amen Corner, or Amen Corner, however you say it. You could have, the closing stretch, 17, 18, really anything. I think that experience as itself is so sick. But for me, I would like to have it at Waste Management just because I think that hole in itself is so unique.
So my answer is the same. And the only reason, because people like the Masters, like no offense, the hole-in-one at 16 at the Masters is iconic. It's a pretty regular hole to get a hole-in-one on relative to most par threes.
Just because it's
a bowl. It goes down. I'm not saying it's a hole-in-one. It's still tough, but like, when have you seen a hole-in-one on 12? When have you seen a hole-in-one on 6? When have you seen a hole-in-one on 4 at the Masters?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen a hole-in-one in any other hole but that one.
I think I've seen one. I mean, the master shot that sticks out the most for me will always be Louis Oosthuizen's double eagle at 2. That
More so than Tiger's chip in on 16?
Well, because I watched Louis live. I never saw Tigers live. I watched that double eagle live. So and my uncle had I want to say he had money or something on Louis at the time, and we were going nuts.
Is that 2008?
No, it was 2012. It was when Bubba won.
It was 12.
Came down to him and Bubba, and Bubba hit the wedge out of the trees, hooked it around, and
like a 90-degree hook.
Yeah.
So, I would say waste management. The only way I would say the Masters is if that hole-in-one allowed me to win the Masters. Then I would say hole-in-one in 16 because that means I won the Masters. But I'm like, if I got a hole-in-one in 16 and didn't win, and it didn't really affect my outcome, like I was not going to win the tournament, then I don't care.
That's another thing too. You get a 16. That's perfect. Yeah, actually, that's a great way to think about it because you get a hole-in-one at waste management. You don't win the tournament. You take a lot away from it. But it's something you don't.
It'd be like, would you want a hole-in-one? The idea is you don't win the tournament. Which one would you rather hole-in-one? Mine's 16 all day long with waste management.
Waste management.
It's not even close.
For sure. If you're not winning the tournament, waste management, absolutely.
Yeah, and if you're winning at the tournament,
again, because for me, just that
Masters,
hole in itself. Well, when you say waste management, what's the first thing you think of? Do you think of 16?
Yeah, that's the only thing I think of.
Exactly.
Now I'm going to think of Harry Higgs and Joel Damon on the course of no shirt.
Oh my God, yeah.
But
absolute legends.
But the
great guys.
How do you think? The way I look at those, the way I look at all those guys, the way the tour is going right now, pro golf has never been more popular than it is now. And
do you think COVID played a part in that? Because it got so many more people in the game.
My initial thought as to why it's become popular is I don't think COVID had any. I don't think COVID moved the needle enough. I think honestly, is there some of it? Yes, because people stayed home and kind of got into the game. I think the biggest thing is social media. I think it's the podcasts. I mean, you have the Foreplay podcast. They're a bunch of hacks, but they have a following because they have Barstool's backing. You have I think the best. What's the one Colton Oss hosts? It's for golf.
Oh man,
carries it. But what's the name of it? To me, that's the best golf podcast because he was a professional golfer, so he gets up and he understands the game. But he understands the nuances and all the little stuff where
I'm gonna look it up.
I find that I like Foreplay, but I also find that those guys
subpar.
That's it. Though I like that one better because they were actual. One was a player. I think the other guy was a caddy. But to me, they have the professional golfers come on and do a long form conversation. Now Foreplay is starting to add more into that, but I also think that Foreplay is definitely more of they're starting to get a little bit more golfy because it really started out as that degenerate we suck we're just you're kind of our bar stool, but then I think now they're getting a little bit more professional in certain aspects. Not saying that you can't have the fun side, but you're adding a level of professionalism when you're bringing in Scotty Scheffler, you're bringing in some of these professionals that are you see them what they're doing with the TaylorMade crew, they're getting a little more legitimized the last couple of years. But I think conversation wise, subpar is way better because those guys really understand golf. They're in the ropes. They're doing the stuff where Foreplay is me and you asking professional golfers
and
who
hypothetical
starstruck all these
that.
oh my God, how is it on tour? And these other guys yeah, so on tour this is great, this is bad, they should change this, and okay, now you're really diving into that.
I gotta give that podcast more of a listen. Honestly, I've listened to a few.
Which one? Subpar?
Yeah,
Subpar?
I've listened. I think they've had Ricky on before, and I've listened to that. Really hope he turns it around. He's one of my favorite golfers, but he is struggling right now.
He's struggling big time. And he still has his tour card.
I mean, yeah, I could see him jumping over to the Saudi for sure.
So
it makes sense for him.
What's going on with that?
I don't really know. I'll say this. I definitely my tone on that's changed a bit. At first, I was just what's Greg Norman doing? There's no point. It's kind of skeptical. But now to see it come to fruition, and I may not understand the backing of it, but for these guys to come out and have a chance of doing that, I think that's cool in the sense of they're golfers. Let them play where they want. I mean, it's up to them ultimately. But I actually was talking to my buddy about this, and this makes the most sense. And I think if it was for this purpose, that it would be great. My buddy read this article, or maybe he heard a blurb somewhere, I'm not really sure, but he had told me how he thinks that or according to this article, so be it, a lot of these college kids, a lot of these top college amateurs are going to go play. I think because ultimately what that's going to do is they're going to have a chance to go play these. They've never played on the PGA Tour or anything, so they don't have any status to lose. They could technically still do that.
So if they go and play that, are they still getting an open invite? Are they still able to go back into?
Why wouldn't they? It's not like they were part of the tour in the first place.
So the whole thing is if they leave, because that's the idea, that if you leave, basically you're not getting your tour card back.
Right. So the idea behind that is these college amateurs or these top amateurs, these young professionals, whatever, people who somehow get a chance to go play, like whoever hasn't played on the PGA Tour, or if they haven't played on PGA Tour yet, they don't have any status. But that was, again, the basis of this article. I don't know what it was there, but if I looked at it as like, hey, if it's giving these kids like a chance to go make some money while they play and then kind of give them a little backing while they try for the tour, then so be it.
Man,
I don't really know how it's going to play out, though.
I
just thought that was like a pretty good idea about it. I think it's obviously coming to fruition. It's obviously happening. I mean, you have your players that have already committed to it. I mean, Phil asking for the release for sure.
Of the tour.
Yeah,
he wants.
He has the tour for the release to go play in the Saudi event. Yeah, couple guys have already. Phil's one of them.
So Phil is like giving up his PGA membership.
I don't know how it's going to play out. He's still looking to play like the U.S. Open, PGA. He's still
what
in
about
those
the Champions
fields.
Tour and things like that?
I have no idea. That's why I'm curious to see how it plays out.
Because I think that's the thing that really
a lot of the guys denounced it. A lot of the guys pledged their allegiance to the tour, but
I mean, the whole idea is because of money, right?
I would think, yeah. I mean, the purses are so. I mean, you got a kid who's you got purses of $20-30 million that these are supposedly going to be $50 million. I mean, tour's not throwing that up.
But I think the idea is like where's that money coming from?
Yeah, no, that's the thing behind it. I that's what I was kind of skeptical at first, but at the same time, I understand, like, you know what, if you're a golfer and you're trying to go get a bag, then by all means, go for it.
Yeah, you're making a career. I mean, you win one, you make $30 million. Like, what's that? Three X.
Do you need to play on the tour for the rest of your life?
Yeah,
if you make that, I mean.
But I guess
I think the allure of the life-changing sums of money that they're projecting, I think that's going to be a big allure.
The hard part is you take that risk and it doesn't pay off, and the thing folds in 2 years. It's like the XFL of football, and all of a sudden you're like,
the chance. That's the chance you take.
I mean,
a lot of these guys have established careers already, and I don't think what Phil's doing. I understand how people may think that it's going to tarnish his reputation or whatnot, and I think John Rahm just came out with something saying, like, the man said a sentence that shouldn't tarnish his legacy. He's one of the best, top 10 players ever.
And Rahm's got a very good relationship with Phil.
Yeah, like, and I would agree with that statement. I think what Phil did was, he took a shot at a tour that's been supporting him, but at the same time, like, he's entitled to his opinion. So,
well, the thing is, they're all independent contractors. They're all like, they have their own.
So yeah, why shouldn't they be able to dictate where they go play?
Is there other tours? Every tour that I know, are they part of the PGA Tour?
No, I don't think so.
Like the European Tour is. They're all sanctioned under the same.
So it's like the DP World. I think they have like the Challenge.
But I think the Asian Tour is part of the PGA.
What's the Sunshine?
I don't know.
Or like, because there's like the PGA Tour of Australasia, I'm pretty sure. PGA Tour Japan. I think it's all that. That's all under the PGA Tour umbrella, I think.
And I feel like like going and playing the European Tour is still, it's like playing the Korn Ferry Tour. It's like you're.
Nah, I'd throw the DP World parallel to the. I'd throw that to the Euro Tour. I'd throw that parallel to the PGA Tour. Maybe not as good, but
no,
I'd throw it just. I mean, some of the events, some of the players, the talent over there. It's tough.
No,
to
if
say.
you go, the PGA Tour is the flagship. That's the main one. But then it goes European Tour,
and then you got.
And then I would say
Euro's destroying us in the Ryder Cup most of the time.
Yeah, the European Tour is. I watch all the time. I love it. I'm saying.
Yeah, you telling me you're a big Euro guy getting up in the morning.
But I'm saying, like, the idea of the European. So you have the PGA Tour, to me, is the top. I mean, that's the top tier. That's like I'm playing. It'd be like if you play soccer. Like, MLS is not the top tier soccer in the world. I would argue it's probably the EPL, like English Premier League. But you have some other. You have La Liga. You have Serie A. You have like all these major soccer leagues around the world.
Same with like basketball. I mean, I'd say the NBA is the top. But like you have,
but the
leagues
Euro
in
basketball,
Europe, got leagues South America, got leagues in Australia.
But if you were a guy that played in the European, it was like baseball. Like take like Ichiro Suzuki. They play in these Japanese team or leagues, Korean leagues, and they're studs. And then they all gravitate towards the MLB because that's where that's the big
That's where
stage.
the big. Well, yeah.
Well, that's
I think
where the money
what
is. That's where
everybody-
sponsorships are. I think I don't think Phil. My only thing with Phil is if he does go, I'm assuming he loses champion tour status, which is crazy to think about because he is just. I mean, he's 52.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
something
newly
like
to
that.
the Champions Tour. So you look at some
I
of
don't
these
know.
guys
I don't know if he would. I don't know if he'd lose Champions Tour status.
because apparently
That's a good.
He's in he's in the U.S. Open field.
Yeah.
He's in the PGA field, but now both of those, the PGA Tour is the same as the PGA of America, right?
No,
They're different.
separate entities.
Okay,
Yes.
and then the USGA is separate. So
Yes.
those two
And
tournaments
the RNA
and the
is
RNA
also separate.
So I
Yes.
think the only one. Now, what about the Masters? Is the Masters?
I think that's also its own, but I don't know how that works, to be honest.
Like you obviously couldn't play in the Tour Championship. You couldn't play in the Players Championship because that's PGA. Like that's PGA champ. That's the PGA Tour's
yeah.
main thing. So yeah, I think all the majors.
So
are
like
separate.
the PGA Championship, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Next time you watch the PGA Championship, I mean, you know how you see all the graphics, like if they show how many people are or who's under par, if they show a scoreboard, they'll have the PGA Tour logo. If you watch the PGA Championship, they'll have the PGA of America.
Yes,
If you watch the Open, typically RNA, like
yeah, they're USGA for the.
and USGA for the US Open and things like that. So I would think, as far as the Masters goes, maybe I'm not sure how that would go or how it's its own entity, but
It's wild because Robert Garrigus I know went over. Who's the other players that jumped ship?
supposedly are going to
Rumored.
rumored. Let's see, Kevin Na's rumored.
Really?
I think Westwood, Poulter. I got some names that I wouldn't be surprised if they go. I mean, it would make sense for them. Louis Oosthuizen.
You think so?
No, he's going to.
For sure?
He's the highest ranked so far that's going. He's number
Wait, Louis already
15.
said he's going.
Yeah. I think he's...
Wow.
So he's expected to anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if Martin Keimer did it. I wouldn't be surprised if Ricky did it. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these guys
What
who
were they feeling
haven't
like Bryson
played-
and Dustin Johnson out?
What?
Bryson was
They're DJs to the tour. All the big names now, most of them are pledging their allegiance to the tour. I think this league is going to be a lot of, if they let the college kids in, great. But I think it's going to be a lot of older names on tour, like a pre-champions tour maybe. I think that's another interesting concept I've read about it.
Said Bubba.
Bubba, yep.
I think so. What's I guess so what's Greg Norman have to do with it?
Greg Norman is like spearheading the league, I believe. I think he's the CEO of the LIV Golf. I
And
believe.
what's LIV stand for? Again, this is all new to me. So this,
I am
I mean,
not sure.
I know of
I haven't done enough research
the
into it myself.
LIV Golf Invitational Series. So I'm assuming it's just
I
it's
haven't
weird.
done enough into it myself.
It's just
So-
weird, kind of like Louis Oosthuizen. I'm very surprised.
I mean, I'm
But-
curious to see like
But if you think about it, it's just
what I'm curious to see what people go like when names come out.
But here's the thing: if you decide you want to play in that league, and then like you're banned from everything else, but you can play all the majors, what do they care? Like, I'm gonna go play the majors. I'm just not gonna play the PGA schedule.
But honestly, if you think about it, they probably wouldn't even be able to play the majors because if they don't play the PGA schedule, how are they going to maintain a world ranking? How are they going to maintain,
who determines world rankings though?
I think different tier events, and if you're playing lower tier events, that's not taking anything away from it. But
I would be surprised
if you go on official world golf ranking,
Yeah,
they'll typically show you the winners from all the tours that are like qualified for that week.
but I'm wondering who is the official world golf rankings. Oh, here we go. I didn't know this. Eligible tours: Asian Tour, DP World Tour, obviously PGA Tour, Japan Golf Tour, Asian Tour, Challenge Tour.
Yep.
I mean, there's a handful: PGA Euro Pro Tour, China Tour. So it'd have to get it, but like something Thailand. Obviously, they don't carry as much weight. Sunshine Tour, official World Golf Ranking founders, Augusta National Golf Club. That's thug when you're like own clubs up there. USGA, RNA, PGA, PGA Tour, European Tour, and then it's the World Golf Championship logo. But International Foundation of PGA Tour. Does that make sense?
What?
World Golf Championship, maybe. It's got like the World Golf Championship, like the globe thing.
What is this? The official
For World Golf.
ranking?
I just can't read the writing on it. It's like the screen. Actually, let me see if I can zoom in. It looks like International Federation of PGA Tours, which would be the world, or the World Golf or WGC. Those would be up there. So
I think it's showing it on the mobile site.
Pablo Lazarabal, he's
Larrazabal.
good.
Yeah.
He's playing really well on the European tour. Yeah, so they have some players there.
Scotty, number 1.
I mean, it's Scotty's so what's your thought on it? Because you were the first guy to tell me about Scotty Scheffler.
Was I?
First guy, like literally, I had no clue who he was. And then you're like, dude, this guy shot. Like I heard the name Scheffler, and you're like, you got to watch him. I'm like, okay, I'll keep my eye out on him. And this was like 2 years ago, maybe.
So yeah, I first came across Scotty Scheffler when he was 16. I was probably 17 because I'm a year older, but. It was an article like Texas teen breaks 2 course records in 2 days. He shot 261s, and one course record that he broke was Hunter Mahan's, and he was a big name at the time, like 2011, 2012 on tour, like he was a big name. And I was like, damn, like at that time I was really getting into golf, like really like getting into it hard, and so I kept an eye on him after I read that, and like so I tuned into like the U.S. Junior Amateur. And I saw his name there, and I remember like while I was working at like dishwashing, I remember checking the tournament to see what the scores were, and he won that in 2013, and just kept following his career from there. He went to Texas, was an All-American at Texas, did 4 years there, was freshman of the year, I'm pretty sure. And then from that, he went on to the Korn Ferry Tour, ripped on that for a year, Korn Ferry Tour Player of the Year, and then here he is. I mean, he's definitely he's played in a lot of amateur events. Like I remember when he was an amateur, I remember seeing him in the USAM and things like that. There were a lot of amateurs I used to follow that are on tour nowadays. But yeah, that's the first I came across him back then. So it's been about 10 years.
You know what's wild is Phil is 54th in the world. There's some good players behind him, but I think his PGA Tour win carried so much weight that like as he's starting to drop down.
Yeah, I think it's great that he won it. I don't know how he won that major, to be honest with you, but I mean, I think it's great that he did.
Sepp Straka's playing well right now.
Sepp
too.
Straka, yeah. Man, where did he go to school? I remember reading his name as an amateur. Georgia.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bulldog.
There's a lot. I used to be into the college golf scene a little bit. There's a lot of names I've seen go through the college ranks. Like, I remember watching Bryson when he won the college championship. I remember watching
SMU.
Yep, I remember watching
With Harry Higgs.
I didn't know Higgs back then.
They were teammates, though.
I didn't know of him back then. I remember watching CT Pan. I remember watching who else? Bo Hostler, Scotty, obviously.
Bo went to what, Texas or Oklahoma?
Yeah, Bo went to Texas. I remember watching like Robbie Shelton was a big name coming up. He's not on I don't think he's on the tour right now. I think he's on the Korn Ferry. But yeah, it's cool to see like the growth. And then Sahith Theegala. He's another name that he sounds like a good dude. I listened to a podcast episode with him on it, and it was a great listen. So he sounds like a good one to follow. But yeah, I first came across Scotty about 10 years ago.
So what do you think about the final pairing?
I thought it was
Cam Smith was the other.
Cam Smith's a killer. Like he went. First off, at first when he had his mullet, I wasn't a big fan, but I'm used to it now.
Do you remember? So when he came on the scene, it was the Masters when he got runner up.
Yeah,
and he had the same look, mustache and a mullet.
And
his caddy was smoking darts the whole time, and you're like, who is this dirtbag? And I just remember this kid coming out. I'm like, Cam Smith, like where does this guy come from? And it literally looked like these guys got like he just like signed up at like the local amateur local qualifier, and he pulled this caddy out of like the.
Cam's a killer. He's like I've seen him on tour for a few years now. I mean, and he's proven it to us that he's
4th in the world right now.
Great. He's a great player, and he's proven he can get it done. I mean, I wouldn't count him out of any tournament he's in.
When the final round of the Masters started, I thought Cam was going to win the tournament. I thought he was going to surpass Scotty. And honestly, up until hole 3, it looked that way.
Chip in on 3, Cam. When we started 2 under through 2, and then they were in the same position. I think that chip in on 3, when that went in, I remember looking over at Nick because I was watching it with him, and a couple others. I remember like looking over at him, and I was like, "Dude, like, come on!"
Doesn't it seem like right as that ball went in, it was like Scheffler took a pin or like a knife like right into the balloon of Cam Smith because then he just fell apart. And I was it was amazing.
That was the momentum. That was a momentum shift right there. Like the momentum killer on Cam Smith, but huge boost for Scotty.
Have you ever seen a momentum shift that early in the round? Because that was a sizable momentum shift.
Man,
because one bogeyed, one birdied, and then it was just like he just kept pulling away.
There's a few, not for anything that substantial, like not for the Masters. I remember back. Oh man, I remember back in college in 2013. I think it was.
You might be saying the same one I'm thinking of.
What?
No, go. I want to hear your story. I know one.
There's one shot that sticks out to me in regards to that, as far as momentum shift, because I watched it live, and that was I think it was the Hero World. 2013. I'm pretty sure. But basically what it was Zach Johnson hit a shot and he went in the water. And he was in the drop zone and it was a 70-yard shot, like 80-yard shot, had to make it to get into a playoff with, I think, Tiger. And dude, two hop, rolled back right in the cup, like as he needed to do it to get into the playoff. I think he did.
Over Tiger?
I can't remember fully, but I think he did. No. I don't know. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to look that up. But I remember that shot. Like, that was just, it was crazy watching that. I remember watching it in my buddy's dorm room, like across the hall.
Let me see if I have the year right. I just want to see if I had the final.
There's a bunch of shots I've seen highlights of, though, that are just like, whoa.
So the one that, I just want to make sure I have the right year. Because I know the course, I know the hole. Yes.
Let's hear it. What you got?
I think I beat what I was going to say. So,
I wonder if I know this shot.
2010. This is where my brain went when I thought of anybody worse, bigger momentum shift than the third hole. 2010, Pebble Beach, second hole. Dustin Johnson, like, doubled or tripled a par 5.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Which is playing now which played, I think in the last U.S. Open, played as a par 4. Because it was like a 515-yard par 4 because it's a short par 5 in real life relative to most holes. So Graham McDowell won the tournament by one shot over Gregory Havret, one hit wonder, 2 strokes ahead of Ernie Els, 3 strokes ahead of Phil and Tiger, and then 4 strokes ahead of Matt Kuchar and Davis Love III. So like that's a start like back in 2010. That's a big leaderboard. Dustin Johnson, this was when he was young. He shot 71, 70, 66 in round 3. And let me just see what the par was on this course, because the reason I say that is
Pebble?
He was playing as a par 70.
Sounds about right.
71. Sorry, lied. He was playing as a par 71 because that was the hole. He might have tripled it. Maybe they're playing as a par 4 and he tripled for 7.
I remember watching a video about DJ's collapse on Sunday.
Wow. He shot... Okay, so this is the reason it collapsed. Graham McDowell... Wow. Graham McDowell shot even par to win the tournament. DJ finished the tournament at 5 over par. He was 11 over par on Sunday.
Yeah, would shoot 82?
82. Had he shot 5, he would have won the tournament if he would have shot 5 over par.
Ooh.
And he shot 11 over and lost by 5.
Well, all right, I got one for you.
So that was the biggest collapse.
What about? I don't think that was the biggest collapse. I think 99 Van de Velde was the biggest collapse.
That was late though. That was 18.
That was the 72nd hole.
Yeah. John Van de Velde.
Jean Van de Velde.
John Van de Velde.
99 Carnoustie. He needed a double bogey to win the tournament.
And he
tripled. And
he tripled,
And
right?
he tripled and lost in the playoff.
Because he hit into the
Either
berm.
that or there's a female golfer, I think, I forget the name, but she missed a 1-footer. She had a 1-foot putt to win a major. She lipped it.
Paul Lowry won that. Wow.
1-foot putt to win a major, lipped it, lost in the playoff. Imagine that.
When was that?
Oh man, I'll have to look it up. That was
Paul Lowry was down by 10 strokes at the start of the fourth round, completed the biggest final round comeback in major championship history, highlighted by Jet van de Velde's triple bogey at the last hole. How wild is that? Guy triple bogeys the last hole and you win it.
Oh, I couldn't.
I mean, Carnousties a nasty.
I mean, that's what he's known for too. Unfortunately,
Carnousties nasty. First round leader Rod Pampling. Remember him?
If that's a name,
Classic.
that's a blast from the past.
Rod Pampling. Actually have his autograph from a PGA event years ago. Craig Perry. Remember him? My favorite Craig Perry story is a hole out for eagle that he won on a PGA Tour event. I think it might have been. I think it was Doral. Remember they used to play in Doral?
Oh yeah, he was
with the blue
Craig
monster.
Perry. I've seen clips of that of his shot to win. He was in a playoff.
Yeah, it was in the playoff. Hold it out from the.
Yeah, he had a little bit of an over the top swing. Fun
Yes,
fact. One of the few.
Third round. Sorry, we'll keep going. They were 6 over par that round. Tiger Woods finished 4 back.
You know what I would have loved to see? Man, what year was it? 74. 74 Winged Foot. The massacre at Winged Foot. I would have loved to see that.
So what's what
That would have been.
what was the final on that one?
I think the winner was 8 over.
Is that the highest to par?
Oh yeah.
Ever?
Well, it's because Johnny Miller torched Oakmont the year before.
So the thing, this is. Do you like Johnny Miller as an analyst?
I think he's a great analyst. I think he's very blunt, but I think he's a good analyst. Yes.
The one thing that killed me about Johnny Miller, and I couldn't stand him, was because Johnny Miller was always the guy, and again, great player, champion. When he announced for tournaments, the one thing that I found with him was he was very. It seemed like he had that. It was harder in my day kind of thing. I felt like a lot of his analysis was relative to his era. And it always seemed that well, back in our day, we had this, or we did this, or the course was longer. Everything was just hard. I walked, uphill to school through snow both ways. Impossible. You can't do that. But but it was one of the ideas, it just seemed like he was very critical of all the players, but then it was anything they did was always better. It was almost like the mindset of well, our team was better 10 years ago than the kids that played now. It's were you? Or you just have your mind was just different. So he was probably 20 something years old when he won it, and now when he's 60, saying well, things were just tougher back then. I'm no, they're probably the same. You were just 27 years old, 25 years old, and now you're 75 years old, and you just have a different perspective.
Of course, yeah. I mean, different equipment, different perspective, come from a different era.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this in regards to it's kind of jumping back into basketball here a little bit. Who's the GOAT, Jordan or LeBron?
So, how many championships does LeBron have? 5 or 4?
5.
Because he won the COVID year, which I kind of
He won. He's got 1 with Cleveland, 1 with LA, and I think 3 with Miami. 2 or 3 with Miami.
I feel like he's
got 4 or 5. Mike's got 6.
4. He's won 4.
He's got 4. So Jordan's got 6.
So.
And also, LeBron has a losing finals record. Jordan 6-0.
So,
but that's not to take away. I think it's Mike, but I think LeBron is great in his own way, and he's a one-of-one player that can't be replicated.
So this is my way that I would put the greatest of all time. If I had to compare the two, and I'm going to give you my pros and cons of both, and I'll give you my final. From a champion perspective, it's Jordan. From a stats perspective, it's LeBron. Overall stats. From an all-around player, it's LeBron. Scoring, very close, but I think MJ has him a little bit, right? And then when you start going down through the finals record, LeBron is, if he has a losing record, was he 4-5, 4-6? So LeBron's made the finals more than Jordan. I
think LeBron, too, separating from statistics, I think he's, not to say Jordan isn't, I mean, his name's known everywhere. I think LeBron's been a bit more philanthropic. I think his school initiative is really great. And well, I think he's utilizing his platform a bit better. But I'm not one to be a critic.
Well, I think if we had to go, again, if you're trying to take every single thing that you could or he could possibly do or whatever, but things off the court, the impact of MJ was greater than LeBron from a cultural standpoint too.
Yes.
If you watch The Last Dance and you like really
Yeah.
internalize like
Yeah.
the Michael Jordan.
I mean, even today, people will still be talking about him 50 years from now.
Yeah, like and now the thing is with
And he's been retired now for almost 20 years.
yeah.
Well, more than 20. Yeah, almost 20 years.
Next year I think will be
20
he played.
years.
I think he played.
I mean, he's
2002,
been
2003
2002. Yeah, 03. I remember watching his last game.
with the Wizards.
I remember taping it on a VHS.
Yeah, that was weird seeing him in a Wizards jersey, but
I get it though.
yeah, he can come back out of retirement again. It's all right. But and it's I mean still,
I would love to. He's someone I'd love to play golf with.
Jordan.
Yeah, that's a pipe dream. But.
If I had to pick though,
Okay, yeah,
Jordan,
that's actually my next question.
Jordan or LeBron, the greatest of all time, I would still say Jordan.
If you could a golf foursome, including yourself.
So we've had this conversation before.
Have we had this
Wait,
conversation?
no, not you and I, but I've had this. I think it was with Jared and Ryan. What's the golf foursome being professional golfers or anybody on the face of the earth?
I would say you could do one of each, but in this case, I'd say anyone on the face of the earth.
So, I mean, if you go face,
I'd say golfers and non-golfers.
like professional and then anybody
Professional
else.
golfers and then non-golfers.
So I think the idea of like who you would play with, if I really had to boil down, and again, I'm going to give like the. I know.
My non-golfers one is simple. It's very easy.
Like non-professional golfers.
Non-professional golfers.
Okay.
I mean, I have two that are very easy. I got to think of the third one, but
Okay, so let me hear your list first because I've never thought of. Let me hear your list first, and I'll go through.
So, I mean,
I'm going to give you 4 lists.
like, so are we? You're giving me 4 lists.
Yes, but I'm going to
Okay.
tell you why I'm picking all of them.
All right, and I got 3 per list because the foursome obviously includes
Yes.
me. All right, so which one do you want first?
This is your golfers.
This is my golfers. Tiger, for sure. I'd say Ricky. I'm still a fan of Ricky. I'd love to. I mean, I think he'd be a chill guy to hang out with. I know him and Tiger are buddies too, but that's just extra. And then got those 2. And then would you say it's like they got to be current, or
No,
is that's
all
not
time.
a list? All time. Oh, all time. Scrap Ricky. I'm sorry. I thought they had to be current. Ricky would be current, like Tiger, Ricky, and I'd say probably Scotty. I think that just because I followed him for so long, I think that'd be cool. Come full circle. But no. So if we're going all time though, Tiger, Hogan for sure, and Jack, prime Jack, Tiger, Hogan, and Jack for sure. A lot of good ones out there, but
So who's your other list?
man, my non golfers would like who would I want to play with? Non golfers, I'd want to play with Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, and I haven't. The third one I have to give it more thought. I don't know if it'd be another athlete, or I don't know if it'd be like a celebrity. I'd have to give that third one more thought, but Michael Jordan and Steph Curry are two for sure.
Okay.
And then what was the 4th list?
So
What's yours? I'll have to think of my third one while you go through yours.
I'm actually going to give you. I got 5 lists.
Let's go.
It
The
depends
more
how you go.
the more
So
lists, the better.
I'm
Come on.
going to give you this is how my brain works with the 5. It depends on the situation. So my first
Okay.
one is professional golfers alive.
Sure.
Then I have professional golfers all time.
Sure.
Then I have professional golfers for fun, like who I'd had the most fun time with.
Well, Harry Higgs has to be in that one.
He is, but the most fun. So, and then the 4th one was the one you said that were non-golf celebrities. But I honestly, and this is a weird thing to say, but if you said you have one round of golf ever left to play, like who would be your dream foursome? I have a mixture of, and I know this is weird because they don't even play golf. I have a mixture of playing golf with all 3 of my kids.
That's fair.
Would be my foursome. None of them play golf. I mean, they hit balls around. But if I had to really
one
pick
more. Yeah.
your last round, and if none of them made my if one of them did not play, then my dad would go in for the other kid. So that would be my dream. Like if you had to say one more round of golf, it would always be my family. But
sure, no, I attest to that.
okay.
I agree.
But then if we're going to the fun part of it, living golfers. This would be all-time living golfers. I'd put Tiger, I'd put Phil, and I'd probably say Ricky. Or not Ricky, sorry. I mean, you said Ricky. I was thinking in your head about who you said. Tiger, Phil, and probably Rory.
Rory.
Those would be my three. I've been following Rory since 2007 when he came out.
Nice.
All-time golfers, this is where it gets tricky because for me, Tiger, it would be Jack and or Arnie, and then it would be either Hogan and or Bobby Jones.
Well,
so it's tough to
hate to burst.
I know I got to pick one of each.
Nah, Bobby Jones is
He's
not actually. He's not professional. But you did say all time. You did say.
I would say instead of Hogan, I would. God, Hogan, damn man, I don't know.
I would want to play with Hogan solely because I would want to see how he hits the ball. Like that would be just. I mean, I could watch his swing on repeat.
The only reason I say Bobby Jones because
I could watch his swing on repeat for sure. Sam Snead's another one for sure.
Yeah, man, that's tough. If I had to pick Jack or Arnie, I guess from a champion perspective, I'd have to say Jack, and I think from Bobby and Ben Hogan, Bobby Jones won more championships, right? Like even if you count amateur titles.
Yeah, if you're counting amateur titles, I think Bobby Jones is at 10 or 11.
Yeah. I mean he won quite a bit of. I mean he won some majors.
Oh my God, 1930. Like he was the greatest. I mean,
did he win the Masters?
No, never did.
I was gonna say I didn't think so.
Obviously he founded it. Yeah. No, so he has 13 majors if you include the amateurs. Jeez, he won the US Am 5 times, British Am once, Open Championship 3 times, and the US Open 4 times. That's wild. Also, lieutenant colonel in the Army. Fun fact.
My favorite movie of Bobby Jones is Legend of Bagger Vance.
Great movie. Okay, what would you say is the best golf movie?
Oh God.
It's tough.
Are you breaking this down between serious and comedy?
No, I'd say just straight up.
Happy Gilmore.
Movie
I've seen the most.
I'd concur with that one.
The movie I've seen the most.
Actually, toss up for me between Happy Gilmore and Greatest Game Ever Played.
So that's what I was saying. Is it comedy or is it?
I would say just straight up. Tin Cup's another great one. Legend of Bagger Vance is a great one. So, what's funny is I've never seen Tin Cup. Really?
It's been on my book. So okay. So this is if you had to say, Galen, golf movies you have seen, the 3 would be Happy Gilmore's number 1. It's the movie I've seen the most in my life. Happy Gilmore, followed by Greatest Game Ever Played and Legend of Bagger Vance are the 2. I feel like I'm going to give the edge to Legend of Bagger Vance. I like the storyline. Greatest Game Ever Played.
I do enjoy Bagger Vance. It's a good movie.
Francis Ouimet, one of 3 champions at Brookline. This year we'll find the 4th champion. They're going back to Brookline.
I just think it was so... I mean, imagine that. What he did,
as an amateur, right?
Just imagine that. 20-year-old amateur, and you win in the U.S. Open, beating the top pros in the world. Imagine that.
I mean, so that one's based on a true story. So maybe I'll give that over Bagger Vance because it was a true story. But I think... So Tin Cup, about a week and a half ago, we had to watch... my wife had to watch for one of her assignments, Bull Durham, the baseball movie with Kevin Costner. I have never seen Bull Durham before. I've heard of it. I never saw it. It's an okay. I mean, it's good. It's... I think Sports Illustrated ranked it the number 1 sports movie of all time, and I would disagree with that, but it's fine. They put it there.
What?
It was true.
Really?
Yeah, it was by far not the number 1 sports.
I would have thought, honestly, if I had to give you a guess, if you were to say to me, what do you think the number 1 sports movie of all time is? And I had to give you an honest guess, my honest guess would probably be Remember the Titans.
That's on my top, very high list of all sports, not sports movies, all movies. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's so
Coach Boone,
such a classic. Yeah.
That would be up there for me. Miracle would be up there for me.
Miracle, yeah.
1980 team.
My mom.
Rudy,
Did you know
naturally.
that my mom
The answer
from
is,
Saranac Lake?
the answer is yes, but I don't. Remember, I forgot where you're going with this, but I know.
Yeah, she like helped out. Like I think she met some of the team, but like she worked the Olympics, like because
told me-
she was in Saranac Lake. She was in high school at the time, and like they like I guess that like the whole like village or whatever like helped out with the Olympics. They took like there was time off of school and things like that from what I remember. From what the stories I remember anyway.
I think you did tell me that.
Fun fact.
But I would say, God, remember the Titans? Yeah.
Remember the Titans?
I don't know if-
I think Coach Carter's up there. Glory
yeah,
Road's
Coach
up there.
Carter's up there for me. Which one?
Glory Road I liked.
That was a basketball one. Texas A and
Texas
Western. That's when
Texas
they beat
Western,
Kentucky.
yeah, when they beat Kentucky.
True story too, right?
True
Pat
story.
Riley was on that team.
True story.
Kentucky team. Not.
Do you know Pat Riley's from Schenectady?
I did not.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Really?
Yep.
How did he go to college there?
I think he was just
Who was the college coach at Kentucky?
Rupp.
At that time?
Adolph Rupp.
Rupp. That's it. I was thinking.
Adolph Rupp.
I was thinking Smith.
Dean
from-
Smith,
Dean
Carolina.
Smith from UNC, but it's not him. Yeah, Rupp.
No.
So, no, I did not know he was from there, but I remember Pat Riley was one of the players on that team that got upset.
Yes.
And now is he general manager?
He's
for
a
the
Heat
Heat or the
exec. I think he's like president.
president.
Heat executive. I know
Great
that.
hair, slick back, looking sharp.
I always thought that was like super cool.
Like he has
when
like the
when
Barry
I was
Melrose
younger,
hair.
I used to definitely try that.
Yeah, he's like the Barry Melrose, just like the greasy like flow. Yeah, Glory Road. Coach Carter's up there. I just like that. I just like that whole story, like underdog story, kind of scrappy. Man, best sports movie. It definitely wasn't. Definitely not Bull Durham, but the Bull Durham thing was Kevin Costner was in it. Kevin Costner is in Tin Cup, so I wanted to watch Tin Cup. That was the whole storyline there. The Rookie baseball movie and the greatest, or not, For the Love of the Game, the baseball movie. Also,
So the
with
Rookie I've seen,
Kevin
with
Costner.
like Henry Rowan No, Rookie. I'm thinking of Rookie of the Year.
Not
The
Rookie,
Rookie
not
is
the
the
kid one.
old Rookie. Was that Dennis Quaid?
Dennis Quaid's in the Rookie.
Yeah, Rookie of the
Jimmy
Year.
Morris from,
Rookie of the Year is
that's the kid that was on the
It's ti-
Cubs with the rubber arm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've not seen
Angels in the Outfield.
I've not seen that either. I've seen like clips of
Oh,
it.
Angels in the Outfield's classic. That had a good cast actually. That had I think Danny Glover was in it.
Yeah, yeah, he was.
Christopher Lloyd was in it. Gordon Levitt. I just found out, and I know he's in it, but I didn't realize at the time was Matthew McConaughey. I listened to his book.
Yeah, he
He was in it. He was the guy in the outfield, and he said,
How's that? I actually wanted to ask you.
How's that book?
How's that quest going? The 60 books.
I finished 17.
So you're on a good pace right now.
I was really far behind because in February and March, I think I read one book, and I was reading a really dense book that took me a while to get through, and then I was listening to a dense podcast that took me a while to get through. Story. So I kind of dove into really.
What's been the of the books you've read so far? What's been the best one you think, or the most rewarding? And then I want to get into other golf questions that I have for you.
The best book that I've read is. Again, I'm going off of memory here, so maybe I'm. The best book I found, the one that I've read that I found has the most knowledge, or the one I gained the most knowledge from, was The One Thing. The most entertaining was Matthew McConaughey's. So I read a lot of nonfiction, business, self-improvement.
That's
more
what
like,
I try to read. I would try to read as well. I'm trying to make it more of a habit. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at like having that as a habit at all. There are definitely books that I'll try to read and I'll get halfway through it and then stop, and got to get better about that.
I always have one on Audible, like listening, because I have to listen to them, like when I'm driving or when I'm like doing like housework or chores or something around the house. I have it on.
Right.
And then I typically have a hardcover going. So I have an Audible book going now, and I started 2 books literally the same day, but I'm going to go through one of them that I think is a little bit more timely, if that makes sense. Or something that I want to learn more about first, because there's a lot of books I'm like, man, I want to like I'm really excited to read that book, but then I like triage it based on like where my mindset is or where I want to. Like sometimes I have some really good books and I'm like, I may not even get to this year because I have a lot of stuff in front of it that I'm like, I'm just more interested in this topic, or I need to learn more about this topic right now than that topic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I pick it that way. But
what's your next one you're looking at?
Which I'm listening to Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins right now. I've had a lot of people say it's a really good one. That Navy SEAL guy.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that too. I've been told to give that a listen.
The guy's I mean, like you listen to a story like this guy's just like crazy, like mentally just like very disciplined,
like locked in.
Yeah, I mean, you're like listening to the stuff. He's like, I just didn't quit. I stayed hard. I'm like,
damn,
I'm good, man. Like I mean, he goes into his upbringing. He has some demons that he's mentally fighting, and I think that's part of the thing. And then the other book I'm reading is called Profit First, which is a kind of a financing book. And I've had a lot of people. I probably have had 4 different individuals recommend that book this year alone. It's on under my binder, but
oh yeah,
I've had
there it is.
4. I want to say 4 people have recommended that all independently of each other, or 5 maybe in the last 3 or 4 months. I was like, okay,
oh yeah, okay, gotta do it.
And these are like people being like, you should read this book. Like, I got a recommendation for you, this book, and I was like, and what I'm finding is,
oh wow, like I've heard that. That's actually kind of cool. I gotta do it now.
Yeah, and what I'm finding with a lot of the books that I'm reading is that a lot of them keep kind of coming up where I'm like, that sounds like a good book, and then that one sounds like a good book, and then it just keeps bouncing around where I find that 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever different people are all saying this book is good, which then you think, okay, there's got to be some type of universal connection to this book. Like Principles by Ray Dalio, I want to read. Man's Search for Meaning's another one. I'm looking beyond you. I'm not trying to.
No, you're good.
And then I have a few more.
Look right at me, right here.
I know, right here. Atomic Habits is one. Psychology of Money's one.
Psychology of Money. Yep.
Have you read that one?
Andy let me borrow that. Yep.
Andy, same one. He gave it to me, or Hannah gave it to me. But
same. I have that, and I have it was like How I Saved My Money or something like that.
It's
Got Rich Dad Poor Dad on Audible right now. I'm going through that again.
That's the book I think I've gifted the most.
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah,
it's a good book. It's a great book.
It's good.
Definitely makes a lot of sense.
One thing's up there. I think that would be a book for you to check out. The One Thing.
The One Thing.
Yeah, which is I think good. I've read it 4 times, but I've read it at different points in my career, and it makes more sense to me. It's more relevant now than it was the first 3 times I've read. I actually read and listened. I didn't count this, but I think there's 2 books this year that I've hardcover read and then listened to also. So I've read 17, but it might be to 18 or 19 if rereading the same book in a year counts. So just because some of them I really like this, so I want to either quickly re-listen to it on Audible, or I listen to it and I want to dive back into the hardcover because I want to take notes in the book.
Right.
So
I've never been a notes in the book person.
I am.
I wish I was. I've never. Oh man, it's like a new pair of shoes. Like I have a hard time. I know it's what they're for, and I know it's what you get them for. But if you get a nice pair of shoes, like a new pair of shoes, I have a hard time wearing them because I don't want to dirty them.
You don't want to
But then once I'm into it, we're full in.
I look at you don't want to crease the book. You don't want to
bend
the cover.
You don't. You want to make it look great, and you want to make it last as long as you can. And then you get a little bend in there, and it's just.
But so I'll fold pages down. I'll write in it. So what I found is that if I get a book, my goal is to read through books to the point where I find that I can go back, and every book has some good stuff in it. But what I'm finding is as I'm reading, there's some books that I will put on a pedestal and be like, I will come back to that book. And there's a few books that I read in the beginning of the year. The Hard Thing About Hard Things would be one I would keep. Then there's one about the same author, Ben Horowitz, and I think he put What You Do Is Who You Are or something. A good book. It's not something that I would save. It's not staying on the. So I have a lot of these books that I read, and I took some notes down. I'm I might just gift them to people or donate them because I'm I just can't keep having a lot of books. But there's the One Thing goes on the shelf. Hard Thing About Hard Things going up on the shelf. I'm saving those, and there's a few of them I've read. I'm this is good. Yeah, I don't know. There's a couple up there that I've read, but I'd be fine gifting it or
It's
or
a colorful
donating.
bookshelf.
Yeah, and I'm kind of just working my way through. I probably have, I would say, I probably have 75 books up there, and
Nice.
then my house I probably have.
I gotta be better
Probably
about
about
it.
30,
I
40.
really gotta be better about it. Reading was my thing when I was younger. I was able to do it when I was younger. I remember when I was in first grade. Fun fact, I don't know if it was just my reading group or whatnot, but I read to my class like in first grade, and
You volunteered to read.
no, like that's what my teacher had me do. I don't want to so I was in a reading group on my own in first grade, I think, because my reading level was higher at the time. I don't want to sound conceited here in any way, but I remember doing that, being in like my own reading group. And then another kid who had a class with second grade, he and I were in our own together, and it was cool. Like it wasn't anything crazy. I remember that kid and I, his name was Alex Husing, nice kid. He and I we made a comic in second grade called Super Bird, like branching off of that reading group we did together. It was cool. It was like one of my memories from being really young in elementary school. I remember I read in first grade. I read Amelia Bedelia to my class, and I used to say Amelia Bedelia because I thought Bedelia sounded girly, and I didn't want to sound girly up there, so I used to deliberately say it wrong. I knew it was Bedelia, but I didn't want to say it that way.
Was that a series of books or one?
Yeah.
A series?
Yeah.
Amelia Bedelia. Yeah, I remember that. And then maybe there was another one. There was a girl.
Oh gosh. Ramona? Is that what you're thinking of? Ramona.
No, I remember that one. Ramona
Quimby or something?
Yeah. Wow. Good. Yeah. Good memory. Not Amelia Bedelia. The only reason I know it is because my niece gave it to my kid. My niece gave it to my kids.
It's not. I remember like Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew. I was big into those.
Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, Encyclopedia Brown.
Have you ever heard of the Time Warp Trio? That was a good series. I read that in elementary school. I enjoyed that. It was about these kids who had this book that they like travel somewhere wild. It was pretty dope. Like it was just this magic book they had. Well, I definitely remember reading like Bunnicula like back then.
I remember that. Bunnicula?
These is all elementary school that I remember.
Goosebumps. You remember reading Goosebumps?
I read a few Goosebumps. I definitely
was
remember
big when I
read
was a
like
kid.
Bailey School Kids and but no, I think as far as the same type of book, I'm with you. There's a couple that I've read over the years that have been good. For example, one I read was called Talent is Overrated, What Really Separates World-Class Performers from Everyone Else.
Okay.
I thought that was really neat. Just kind of dove into the concept of deliberate practice.
Junie B. Jones.
Junie B. Jones. Junie B. Jones.
Junie B. Jones.
Yeah, that sounds familiar now.
That's the series.
That sounds familiar for sure.
Almost 6-year-old Junie B. Jones.
Man, yes.
Junie. I didn't know it was Junie. I wish that was Judy B. Jones.
Yes, Junie B. Jones. I remember that now. That's awesome.
And then there was, I don't know if it was a book series. Arthur. There were some books that were it was a book
I definitely
series,
played a few computer games that were Arthur. No, they weren't. They were. Maybe I did. I don't remember.
So Arthur was a great
I don't know.
series.
Arthur
on
was a
PBS.
series. They were a good. It was a good TV series for sure. I remember watching it.
But the books were like thinner books. It was almost like the Bernstein Bears, like the thinner.
Yeah.
They were like picture books, but that you probably only
Still
like
loved them,
15
though.
pages, 20 pages.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, that's Ramona Quimby. Good call.
Yeah,
Beverly
I
Cleary.
I remember those books. Some like vaguely.
Beverly Cleary. Yeah, I remember that. She's kind of. She's a little older than I thought. She passed away. Whoa. She passed away March 25th, 2021 at the age of 104.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Solid.
That
3 digits. That's a good. That's a good one.
I watch this thing on Sunday mornings. It's Willie Geist, and they at the very end they call it a life well lived, and they always like highlight like someone. I think someone that passed away recently, but like what they did, like that.
No, you know who
is-
just passed away recently? The world's oldest living person at 119.
Really?
Japanese woman. Yep.
It's always the Asian people that do that. I don't know if
I
it's
think
food.
that the record holder though is a French woman.
Really?
Yeah, her name's Jean Louise Calvert. I think she was
The fact you know that.
1875 to 97, I believe. You
Jean
check me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it was.
What was her name?
Jean Geanne Louise Louise Calvert, and I think it was 1875 97. French woman, 122 years old. Pretty sure.
What? Louise James Calvert?
No, I think it could be wrong about the name, but something Calvert, I think.
Age. I'm going to put
122.
age.
She's
Jean
122.
Louise Calvert age? No, I think it's different. It
122-year-old woman. I'm pretty sure she was 122.
Well, now they got pictures of this old lady. Frances Jean Calvert.
There it is. Not Jean Louise. My bad, everybody.
No, I mean, the fact that you...
Frances Jean Calvert. Yeah,
that
there
is
you go.
wild.
75-97, right?
75-97.
Yeah.
Wait. Let me... I got to see if this... Because there's other Jean... This one lady was like 88, so maybe she was well known. Whatever.
Either way, 122 years old. That is crazy. That's a testament right there. Like, that's unreal.
Oldest person ever. That's wild.
Oh, speaking of that.
No, Jean Calment.
Calment?
75 to 97. That's who you said.
All right, so I got butchered the name,
Jean
but French lady. Got the years right.
That's incredible. Jean
Speaking
Calment.
of oldest person, you see Jay Haas just got the record for oldest person to
make a cut.
68. Pew.
So you know what's the funny? Wow, no.
What's that?
No, so Jean, so the person that just passed away was what, April 19th, 2022?
She
was
was
Kane Tanaka.
Yeah, she was 119.
Jean Calment was 122.
Yes.
Oh, so she didn't break the record.
No, Calment has the record.
The oldest.
This lady's number 2, the one who just passed.
Oh, guess what? The longest living person in the United States was Sarah Noss, 119 years old. The oldest active living person to this day still is Lucille Randon, 118 years old.
And she is from
France.
Nice.
There's
That's
also
awesome.
a lady from Poland who's 115 years old.
That's so sick. That's so cool.
So imagine like this Louise Randon, who was born in 1904, is a French supercentenarian, the world's oldest verified living person, following the death of Kane Tanaka.
Wow.
She's the oldest known survivor of the COVID pandemic, having tested positive for, I'm assuming that's COVID, a month before her 117th birthday, outlived it. She's a Roman Catholic nun.
Wow.
Wow, this lady is just... She's an asymptomatic and tested negative days before her 117th. She got COVID. She just
powered through it.
She said, COVID's not
Said,
taking me
nah,
down.
not for me.
Tan Tanaka. Supercentenarian. She's the old... This is wild. 1903. Where's something village, Empire of Japan, was when she was born. It was called the Empire of Japan. 1903.
Yeah.
How wild is that? That's 5 kids.
World War I, World War II, Depression.
Her husband died 30 years ago.
Man.
Which would still most likely be pretty old. Supercentenarian. A person who's reached the age of 110 years old. The age is achieved by about 1 in 1,000 centenarians. Gotcha.
Wow.
Wow, that's wild. Major age-related diseases until shortly before the maximum human lifespan is reached, which I'm assuming at this point in time is 122.
It is.
Is verified to live 122 years old. Wow. What do you think someone our generation is going to live to?
Not that.
You don't think so?
No.
I think someone our generation is going to be living to close to 150, 130.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Think about the way that technology and medicine and science is progressing.
Yeah, that's true. Because thinking about it now, it was a bit of an impulsive answer.
Well, now I guess there's two ways to look at it. Somebody that does not have any modifications, let's call it modifications. If somebody was hypothetically to live and you had to like start like they started doing like stem cell or replacement, like you're replacing organs that were failing. Like if your heart's not good and you get replaced with a new young heart, is that heart able then to? It's almost like putting a new battery in the car. Are you able to get how many more miles back out of it?
Do you understand? Like, yeah, that is actually a good question. I wonder how. Like, what about the feasibility of like cryogenics? I wonder how that's going to go.
I don't know. Like,
it's a pretty fascinating concept.
Everything starts out at a certain it's like anything else. Like everything starts out as being like taboo or not the norm or whatever. And then it starts, or anything starts to become cheaper. Think about the first time someone like got on a plane, got in a car, traveled or did something. How much money did it cost to do that? And then now all of a sudden, like people fly every single day. But when there's only a couple flights, or back in the day in a train, like how much was a train ticket when the trains first were going? Now it's like, oh, I can get on a train and travel across.
What do you think of Musk's Hyperloop?
Hyperloop?
Or like his hypothetical. I think it's called the Hyperloop. He called it.
Is that the Boring Company?
Could have been. Yeah, it could be.
With the tunnel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe
Is that not called the Hyperloop? No.
the Boring Company is the one. Let's see, Elon. What'd you call it?
Hyperloop?
Hyperloop speed. 760 miles per hour.
Yeah.
But the Hyperloop theoretically could bring passengers from city to city in less than 45 minutes, traveling top speed of 760 miles per hour. Yeah, so basically and I think he said this on the Rogan podcast, was that the Hyperloop, which I believe is from the Boring Company, tunnel building for urban transport business, the Boring Company will attempt to build a high-speed and still theoretical Hyperloop in the coming years. The idea behind the Hyperloop, and I'm going to put this in a way that, have you ever seen the Polar Express?
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Remember when the elves get in that little thing and it shoots them through?
Yeah.
And they go back to the North Pole?
Yeah.
Oh, Santa's like, he's coming out.
For sure.
That is the Hyperloop. And I remember watching it. My kids really got into that movie, so I remember watching them. Like, that's exactly what he's trying to do. It's this vacuum, or it's just like vacuum sealed, no air, which is no friction, because there's no headwind. You're just going through nothing. Or like whatever the stuff inside, atmospheric pressure.
How well do you think the human body could like sustain that or like handle it?
The G-forces?
Yeah.
I think they would just make it to the point. I think it wouldn't be bad though, because there's no friction. Like if you're going up in the air, like G-force, you're hitting. Again, I don't know, but you have pressure that's affecting you.
Right.
Like it's like going when your ear. Again, I could be wrong, but it's like when you go through the mountains, you hit a higher elevation, your ears pop because it's pressure. Mm-hmm. So when you have someone that goes up in G-force, and I think it's just because the change, like obviously the speed, but I think a lot of it has to do with the change in atmospheric pressure, because then it acts. Your body is like adjusting to everything. It's just not there. So the Hyperloop, because of atmospheric pressure and again, runs substantially free of air resistance or friction inside this tube. The idea is that I believe he said that you could. Virgin Hyperloop conducted the first human trial in November of 2020 at its test site in Las Vegas, reaching a top speed of 108 miles per hour. But I think the whole idea is you could go from like New York to LA in like an hour or something, or less.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
That would be crazy to think about.
Well, what I think eventually will happen, because again, he talked about this. He talked about two things, at least on a podcast with Rogan that I was listening to, is that the idea of going down underground, which is not, there's subways, things do go underground. But the idea of going underground with a frictionless thing is that, what's the straightest line or straightest thing is a straight line. So the Earth's not straight. So you'd have to go around the Earth. You know what I mean? Like just your actual pathway from LA to New York has to follow an arch, or has to follow the curvature of the Earth. So he's saying instead of doing that, make it straighter and vacuum it, so it's just a little more streamlined. I don't know how deep these are. Like, I'm going down into the mantle of, or whatever the next layer down, mantle. But I think it will happen in our lifetime. It's like anything else. Like, it's just a matter of. And he said the other thing.
It's kind of wild to think about what's coming in the next few decades, or what the potential of what could come anyway.
But they also said about flights. He goes, you just go higher in the air and you can travel faster, because there's less pressure. So, like, you don't go into space, but instead of going 30,000 feet, can you go up to 50,000 feet and fly twice as fast? And,
right,
maybe.
and then come back
what's,
down.
Like, how, if you had to fly to Japan, and it's a 14, 16-hour flight, could you go up and make it a 10-hour flight? I don't know. Like, I don't know the science behind it, but...
It's cool to think about.
Well, now he owns Twitter.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
That is wild.
Which is the first time I think I've ever seen a public company of that size.
If I had 44,
go back private.
If I had 44 bees lying around, I might do the same thing. But
the thing is that didn't make a dent in his.
No, it did. That's what's
like,
crazy.
what?
Like, all right, yeah, here.
But you ever seen someone take I think they said that the shareholders are going to make a 38% profit.
I think it's. I mean, he's a visionary, if you will.
Oh, absolutely. Have you read his book?
No.
It's his book. Someone wrote it, but he was a part of it.
No, I haven't.
You know what it's fascinating about him is that I've done research and like looked up like how does he do all the stuff that he does? And I think what it comes down to, obviously he's got an incredible work ethic, but I think the idea what it comes down to, he internalizes a lot of information. They said when he used to read like, I don't know, 10 hours a day.
Voraciously.
All the time. And I think he said as a kid, he would read through like the entire, Encyclopedia Britannica cover to cover and just learn about everything. And then what happened was he took all that knowledge, was able to make connections. And I think they call it first principle thinking, where you basically bring all of the thoughts. So I've done some research, like Googling just what like first principle thinking, but it's taking all of something that's very crazy and like maybe, what's the word, like technical or very advanced, but you strip it down to first principle thinking, which is called like your basic fundamental truths. So one of the things that he used as an example was batteries, or people like, you can't do it. Batteries are too expensive. And he's like, well, what are batteries made of? And he started figuring out what batteries are made of. So he's like, okay, well, if we can just take those things and put them in the shape of a battery, those things individually are really cheap to get. So instead of getting like full-on batteries that were already produced, I think the idea was break it down to how much each material costs, then find a way to make that material cheaper, and then assemble it with the same material but cheaper. Where somebody's like, you just can't do that. And he's like, well, no, you can. You'd actually do it this way. Now the battery's way cheaper. So like, and so it's kind of like thinking outside the box a little bit. And I was watching one video online, and they're like, okay, go from start to finish. It was a maze. And they say, see if you can go through this maze in 20 seconds. And I'm watching it, and I got through it in 20 seconds. It was but I mean, by the time you kind of like wandered with your eyes and like kind of wrong turn, whatever, you can make it to the other side. And he goes, okay, like if the goal was to go from start to finish, and it had a box that said start, or entry that said start, and a finish that said finish, and it had obviously the maze inside. He goes, what about this? And he goes, up, doom, boom, to finish. He goes, that's kind of the idea. Is that instead of actually going through all the loops, nobody said you had to go through the loops. He just said, how do you physically go from start to finish? So someone like Elon Musk would be like, just go up, over, down, and then you're there, instead of having to go through all these loops. And then it said,
so cool.
Then they go, well, maybe the other one is, start to finish, instead of going up and around, you just go straight to the line, like a straight line. So it was like, when you did that, it was like a paradigm shift. You're like, wait, I thought I actually had to go through the maze. Like, no, you just had to, how do you go from start to finish? But like our brains are trained to like follow the map like all the way through, but you can go like, well, you can actually just do that or go straight line. Like, so that's the idea, is that he kind of,
I feel like that can kind of carry over into golf in a sense. Like there's multiple ways to post a score. Like there's like 3 shots in 1 putt is the same as 2 and 2.
Wait, say it again?
Like as far as carrying over.
Oh, 3 shots in 1 putt.
Like 3 shots in 1 putt is the same as 2 and 2. You're still posting a 4. You're still finding a way to do it. It's not the same as obviously going through everything versus like thinking outside the box, but it's more so finding a different way to achieve the same thing. If that makes sense.
Yes. No, absolutely. And but think about like pulling a driver out and risking it to have a short wedge shot or a chip in versus hitting an iron because you're trying to get that payoff, but like.
Right, and what it comes down to is, say someone drives a green on a par 4 and 3 putts, whereas you go iron 2 putt. You're still walking off at the same score.
I think that's like when I think about my golf game.
I did have a question for you.
Yeah.
What's your biggest, like, what are your golf goals this year? What, like, in regards to your game, when you think about your golf game, what do you want to accomplish this year? What's your biggest goal?
First off is to annihilate Andy Lamonto. I'm just kidding. Actually, no, that's actually...
No, we got it. That's
actually not a goal. That's just I just want to shit talk Andy.
I definitely want to get out and play with you guys again. For sure. We will.
Even if it's not Wednesday, we'll play. But my actual golf goals... So backstory for anybody that has not listened to one of our golf podcasts. I used to be a single digit, like a good golfer back in like high school, everything else. got out of the game for almost 10 years. From basically 20 to 30. I didn't really play in my 20s. And
Was that because you were building this?
Yes,
grinding?
But you know what? Yes, but the other part of it was when I graduated, when I went to college, there was pretty much, I would say, 3 factors that played into it. Number one, a lot of my buddies that I played golf with just weren't around. Like, because college, like the guys I played a lot with went elsewhere. So that was one. Number 2, I was busier. Like I had college, I was working, I was coaching. So that was a little bit of it. But I'll be honest, the not really having people to play with was one, because my buddies had been gone. 2, I was a 20-year-old kid. I didn't have a lot of money. So like,
Sure.
I'm not, even for me to get a membership, the cheapest membership at the time for me at that age was North Country. And I was living in Plattsburgh. So like the round trip to get up there to play was like, I don't really feel like driving a half hour playing, driving a half hour back. Minimum, it's a 5-hour chunk of time. And I have nobody to play with. And so how often am I going to go up there? And then I was just busy. So it was like a perfect storm of just things I couldn't do. But
Fair.
my golf goal...
Did your clubs come in?
Yes.
Oh,
last night. So my golf goal... We'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll have a few more minutes. We'll talk about that. So my golf goal this year, I really think, is to try to get down... I would love to get down to an 80 scoring average. And the reason...
Wait, what do you mean? Like
My
average on 8, like on average, like 80 or like low 80s regularly? 80?
80. So
Like high 72, low 80s, 80 in the
Correct.
middle, average. Okay.
Correct. So the best I ever got to, I think my average was like a 70. God, I want to say my best ever scoring average was like a 77 or 76 lifetime. It's like when I was playing. But I ended the year last year. If you took my last, like, because the way handicaps are all established, my handicap at the end of the year based on my last like 20 score or whatever they do was like a 12. If I had to take my last maybe like 10 rounds of last year, I was probably like an 8 maybe. So like I got down substantially. Like my scoring average at the end of last year was somewhere probably around 82 if I took my last like 10 rounds.
That's prime. So that means you got to find a way to shave 2 strokes off on average
From the
every
start
round.
of the season. So like I
Have you played yet this year?
No. So I've had like some 20, or I had some 90s last year. Like I think my worst score last year was 104. And I had like 95, 92, 90. And then I started to get consistently where it was like I was always breaking 90. And then towards the end of the year, I was consistently breaking like 86, 87. So I was like 83, 84, 85, 86. I had, I think, an 81 that I shot. I broke 40 last year like 2 or 3 times on 9. So I was starting to put some stuff together. And I find that building off of that, again, I'm not going to be a scratch golfer. But my goal would be to probably get down to a single-digit handicap, and I would love to see my scoring average be 80, meaning I have a couple high 70s, a couple low 80s.
So long as you beat Andy, though. That's the common denominator.
And basically, those are all secondary to beating Andy on Wednesday mornings. So.
Of course.
What's your goals this year?
My goal this year is actually a bit different. Like, the biggest thing I have for myself is to try to not tinker and really trust myself more. Mm-hmm. I'm really trying to focus on. So I'm playing around with the lift in the left heel a little bit. Yep. It's helping me turn through a little bit more, and it kind of helps to initiate the downswing. But one of the biggest things I'm working on is tempo and rhythm. I'm really trying to focus on swinging really within myself, making a balanced follow through, trying not to like swing off balance. And I'm really trying to focus on, like, with that, kind of branching off of that, really letting the club do it. I definitely lost sight of the fact that speed is created at the bottom of the swing, not the top. Yep. Thankfully, some friends reminded me of that. And since then, as far as, I've played 36 holes so far this year, 2 9s and an 18. And I've seen flashes of what I deem to be particularly, like, solid golf for my expectations. Mm-hmm. Branching off of those, like just staying true to that and trying to focus on really maintaining a good tempo and good rhythm. And so I'm hoping the consistency will come once we get some more reps in, but from what I like what I see so far.
What do you think is the strength of your game?
It's hit or miss. I can tell you one thing for sure: it is not chipping and pitching. Chipping, I have no feel right now whatsoever.
Yeah, well, it's early. I mean,
I would say the strength of my game, if I had to pick something, would probably be driving off the tee. I consider myself a pretty solid driver. I think if you give me a 3-wood, give me my 3-wood, I could probably find the fairway more often than not. But I'd say driving off the tee. But if I get a little quick with my driver, I'm hooking it. So gotta fleece that out.
I was gonna say if you're
like I'm not worried so much now if I'm a little laid off at the top or like I don't like how it looks. If it's not aesthetically pleasing, all I worry about is what the impact was like and what the result is, and if I finish the follow through. I'm trying to really simplify golf a lot more and think about more. All right, where do I want to miss? Because I really haven't thought about that. For me, it's always been, all right, let's just fire at the pin. What am I? Maybe like 130. All right, wind, like club. All right.
So you're attacking every
trigger.
pin.
Let's go. That's how I used to be.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do this year, and while I still do go out a lot, what I'd like to do this year is really think my way around the course better. Really analyze, like, okay, it's a little colder. Like, take a bit more into account and really focus on that in between shots. Because there are times there were times last year where I would hit, in our morning sessions, for example, be 125 yards out and I'd hit a pitching wedge and I'd be 10 yards short. Like, it's cold. There's dew on the ground. Like, the ball's obviously not going to travel as far. So why not hit like a knockdown 9 or an easy 9? Why not, rather than try to aim if the pin's on number 2, front right, like, all right, where would you really want to miss this? You want to be below the hole. So, I try to really think my way around the course better this year is what I'm trying to do.
I think if I had to pick, your driver when you're on is lethal. Like, long,
I appreciate
straight.
that. Thank you.
But the best round of golf I saw you play last year, I think we played, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you had like close to 15 greens in regulation. You played, there was one point on the
What did I shoot? I don't think you were with me either the day because I shot.
It wasn't when you shot 70.
75. 75 is my low. I shot that twice last year. I think I shot with you guys. I think I shot like 78, 79, something like that.
Whatever. And again, a lot of this came down to was like you might have 3-putted or something like that. But I think you started out the first. God, I feel like on the front 9 you hit like 8 of the 9 greens, and there was a couple.
I remember one time playing with you guys, I started out 3 under after 4 holes.
Yep.
But that was a fluke.
But didn't you end up? What'd you end up that round though? Was it even?
So that when I was 3 under through 4 holes, no, I think I ended up shooting. I think if I remember correctly, I think that was the day I shot 35 and I had to leave.
Yeah, you left after 9.
Yeah,
I think it was 1 under.
Yeah, I think that was the day I shot 35. I was 1 under and I had to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that because you were that, but that wasn't the same day that you was the same day you hit the greens and regs.
It might have been because it would make sense. Like I definitely know
the thing. Like retelling the story now, you know what the hard part is. I don't remember the back 9 in that story, so maybe it was when you shot 35 and you only played 9. That's why it makes sense.
It could have been because I definitely hit like
everything,
yeah.
And like every ball you hit was high,
making a lot of putts. Like
you had.
It was a good day.
You had a legitimate birdie shot, I think, on like 8 of the 9 holes.
It was a good day for sure.
So, just because I know we got to wrap this up, top 3 things. Now that I'm really thinking about it, if I had to pick my golf game, I know people say driver. I'm going to work my way down here. My driver has to be more consistent because my driver last year never put me in a good position. It was not like a.
Do you feel like if you drive the ball off the tee, good, right? Like, say you're having a day and you're like, all right, I'm driving the ball well. Mm-hmm. Do you think you have a tendency to score better when you do that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. If I'm longer and I'm like in the fairway or just off the fairway and I have like most holes that we play around here, I would say my length when I I hit a ball the way I want to hit a golf ball, my length overall I think is fine for my skill level.
No doubt. I mean, I've played with you enough to attest to that.
Like I'm not someone hitting like if I can hit a good decent golf ball, it's going about 270. And I say like the way I want to hit it. Like if you were to say hit 10 golf balls and like your top couple good ones. I'm like, yeah, they're all going to be about that 270, 260 to 280, like right depending on a couple variables. But the problem was I was not consistent with that last year. So like you could get in a rhythm where you were hitting like 5, 6, 7 really good shots like in a round, and you had a scoring club. And you like the amount of times last year I would take a driver and either hit 3 off the tee, or I put myself in a position where I had to like chip back in the fairway, or just like short, like maybe just kind of pulled it left, and it was like 220 yards, 30 yards down the left rough, but now I have a 5-iron in over like a bunker. Like I just wasn't very good off the tee consistently. So that would be number one, is to get that as a little bit more reliable attacking club to put me in position. My one that I'm actually more focused on right now is getting my distances dialed in with wedges at different approach shot lengths. So basically that, 20 to 120 yardage, where I'm just like, I know, instead of guesstimating and getting up and being like, let me try to just feel this one out.
Like you know where you're at. You know what club
I know
it is.
this. I know what my 75-yard shot is, like, or my 60-yard shot is, like, whatever that is. I want to dial that in. And my third one, when you talk about course management, it would be thinking the course, but thinking the course in the sense of like, where can I put myself where, and my initial thought goes into where I'm not short-sighting myself. So, and again, for people that don't know, short-sighting yourself, if the green's on the left part of the green, don't miss left.
Yeah.
Miss on the side opposite of the hole.
Make sure where you miss, you have a lot of green to work with, because if you don't, then that's always a tough one.
So that's really my main thing. Is like, where can I, A, not lose a golf ball, and then B, to the point where I'm not short-sighting myself, where I might not get up and down, but I'm not gonna risk 4 shots to get down from the short side. So
I tell you, I think I might take a page out of your book too, as far as playing. What is it, Snell Snell?
Dude, I'm
pissed. I'm
so bullish on Snell.
Pissed they discontinued the MGs, but I mean, I take your word for it. The Snell. I mean, remind me, the person that made the Snell formerly was like, what? Like he had some say in the creation of the Pro Vs or something, right?
He was the guy that created the Pro V1. He was the guy. If you go on Snell.com and read about the guy, he's got like a doctorate, PhD in like plastic engineering or something. Like I didn't even know that was a thing. Like he's got
me neither.
He's got this very high degree in plastic. I think it's plastic engineering. His name I think is Dean Snell. But look it up. It's great. So, Alec, anything else or
GT, I just got to say, I really appreciate you having me on. I know it's been a little bit, and we got to talk about some great stuff, not just golf, but other things as well. I'm always appreciative of coming here. You've always been great to me, and I definitely look forward to getting on the course with you.
Same, but I didn't even ask you, because PGA, who you got?
Is that what's next? You know what? This is going to be... I'm hoping my guy breaks through. I think this win gives him a bit of momentum. I'm going to pull for my man Xander here. I love watching Xander. Xander's just... I'm going to go Xander here.
Xander at Southern Hills. Tiger won the last time they played there, right?
I'd be the wrong person to ask. I think he may have, but...
So... Man, let me see. I feel like the names that come to me are Cam Smith. I'm going Cam Smith. Didn't finish Masters, correct. I shouldn't say not correct. I'm not saying he should have won. He didn't play like I think he knows he can play, and I think he's going to string it together.
I think just the chip was just. I think the chip was just debilitating. I think he was on his way to a special round, and that was just And then when 12 came around, that really did him in.
But think about the round. He had 2 bad rounds and was still in the final pairing.
True.
So his second round was terrible too. So, all right, we're going to end there. Episode 188 of the Galen Trombley Show. Alec Odnoha,
Stay tuned in. Appreciate you having me again.
Golfer,
GT, thank you, man. I appreciate
it. Tar Heel,
you know what it is. Thank you again for having me.
All right, peace. Thanks for listening to the Galen Trombley Show. If you want to reach me, you can go on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. The spelling, GaelanTrombley. TROMBLEY.